Everybody leave that stuff?
Right?
Am I glad about it? Is there any blessed folks in here? Yeah. You know, I don't know if you pay attention or not, or you think they're just singing some old song or what, but if you listen, they ain't, you know, they're singing the gospel. There's power in the gospel, you know. That's why I appreciate this bunch so much, and they like coming here too, because they get to sing it unadulterated and unhindered, and you know, there's nothing better than that. I mean, if you know what we're talking about, what they're singing about brand new, talking about brand new, look, he ain't singing about being delivered from sin. That's easy. Jesus did that. He's talking about being delivered from the thing that revived sin up in you and kept fanning it and kept bringing it to life and all. Brand new. What's he talking about? No, it's one thing just to be born again. It's another thing to find out what grace really is. Now you find out what brand new is, that he who knew no sin. I mean, they sang it. I could just sit down. He who knew no sin became sin, so that we who knew no righteousness might become righteous. That's it, period. I mean, yeah. You explain to me how a guy who never sinned became sin, and I'll explain to you how a guy who never did right became right. Oh well. Careful, yeah, you'll get me going. The new, that's what they're singing about, the new. Brand new looks real good on you. You know, it's not talking about, oh, you got born again, changed where you hang out. It's talking about you're now under a new covenant. You're no longer under the old covenant. Under the old covenant, you're always declared guilty. Under the old covenant, there's always another level of a standard that you have to meet up to in order for God to bless you. You're no longer under that system. Jesus fulfilled that system. Now you're born again, you're under a new covenant. A new covenant with new promises. Better promises based on better blood. It's not up to you and your performance now. It's based on Jesus and His performance now. That's good news. Yes, sir. All right. That ain't what I'm going to talk about. But there is nothing else, really. There is nothing else. I'm telling you. The realization that God's love for you is unconditional is the most life-changing piece of truth that you can ever get a hold of in all of your life. And you know, we've heard that over and over, and we've sat in church our whole life, and you say amen to that. But quit doing that. Think about it, really. God, you know God, loves you unconditionally. That means it's not based on conditions. It's not based on conditions that you have to meet. I mean, that's life-changing. It says that He'll never be angry with you again. That He put all of your sin on Jesus, put all of Jesus' rightness on you. Then He also took the law which was against you, Colossians 2, and nailed it to the cross. As long as the law's there, even when you're born again, you still, the next day, you're guilty again. But He did away with that. You're no longer under the law. I'm telling you, you'll never be declared guilty again. Found right in the sight of God. That's life-changing right there. You never be separated from God again. You never be angry. He said, I'll never be angry with you again. And religion has told us every time it's reared its ugly head that God's mad at you or disappointed with you. I ain't going to talk about that, but it's still good news, ain't it? Somebody here else need to know it. It ain't based on you. Alright? Love really is unconditional. Fact is, any love that has conditions is not even love. Well, anybody said, so what this week? So what? All right. Well, you know, I talked about the book of Jude. It says this, that angels that left their proper abode, you know, the angels that got kicked out of heaven with Satan, a third of them, right? Those angels that God Himself, capital H, He chained them to darkness, put them in bonds under darkness to remain there, right? So all the evil angels, the bad dudes, you know, the ones that left with Satan, Satan's little cohorts, demons, little devils, evil spirits, whatever you want to call them, all that stuff, God Himself has bound them under darkness, right? So we talked about that when you come into the light of something, or the light where it's like the light bulb comes on, you get an idea, or you have a thought or something, or the realization of the light comes on. That's the light of something, is you start knowing something. Before you didn't know it, you know, you might be ignorant of something, but then you come into the knowledge of it, so now you're not ignorant of it. You could say that, talk about that being not knowing, being under darkness. Knowing now is that you're in the light, right? Your heart's been enlightened, right? So I just been thinking more and more about that light, and coming out of darkness into light, is not being ignorant of the things of God anymore. But here's why it's important, because you got to know. You got to know something, right? That's like, because, you know, Peter said, 2 Peter 1:2, I believe it is, you hear me say it all the time, grace and peace is multiplied to you through the knowledge of God. The knowledge of God and our Lord Jesus Christ, right? So grace and peace. Anybody need more of that? Yeah, I never overdosed on it. Grace and peace is multiplied by knowledge of Him, knowing something. It's like, before, I didn't really know much of anything except pray a prayer and I'm going to go to heaven one day, and struggle along till then, right? There's way more to it than that. It's like I didn't know it, so I didn't have it. I didn't know that it was the will of God for me to be healed, and since I didn't know that it was His will for me to be healed, I didn't live in it. Now that I know it, I live in it. Can't be any more simpler than that. That's why it's important that we know something. That's why we no longer live in the darkness, but now walk in the light, as He is in the light, right? So let me just read you a few. All right, let me just read you a few, and we'll see where we land, all right? Because I don't know about you, but I want to know. I want all the places. See, you can be born again and walking in revelation and have so much light and all this. There's still areas in our life that we haven't learned yet, that we don't know yet. There's still areas. I'm saying born again, spirit filled, whatever else. There's still areas that we don't know. There's still areas of darkness that the enemy can still be operating, because God said they can only operate under darkness. So there could still be pieces of darkness still in me where that enemy is still operating in my life. We still need light, don't we? We still need, it's the same as I keep saying over and over, that Jesus says every seed that's planted in you that was not planted by the Father is getting plucked up, right? So what's happening? Those places of darkness that are still in our hearts and in our minds are getting light shined into them, and the more light shines into those places and the more those dark places disappear, the less the enemy can operate in our life. I'm still talking about total victory. Anybody here? Anybody here believe in total victory? Think it just happens automatically because you prayed a prayer? It comes by knowing. Because here's the thing. When you know something, that's when things change. When you know something. The fact is, if you want to really see the enemy move out of your life, he's going to have to be convinced that you're convinced that you know something. He's not going to move just on because you had an idea all of a sudden. He's only going to move when he's convinced that you're convinced of what you know. All right, let's see. Let's just read some stuff here. I'll read you a few verses. Listen to this, because I thought I just liked it. This is in this is John. John, the first chapter of John, right? I think about John. Well, let me just read this. John 1:4 says this: in Him, capital H, was life. In Him was life. And the life, the life, was the light of men. In Him was life. The life was the light of men. The light of who? All right. The light shines in darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. Some say the darkness cannot overpower it. All right. There came a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify about the light, so that all might believe through him. Who he was not the light, but he came to testify about the light. There was the true light, which coming into the world enlightens every man. Enlightens every man. All right? Listen to this. Well, what about John 8, where Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Right? All right? So, it says this. In him was life. In him was life. And the life was the light of men. The life was the light of men. Light is knowing something. Right? Light is knowing something. Right? What the man knows is where life is found. The man can know something. See, life is in him. Life is in him. I'm not talking about life like you got born and then you breathed so many days. I'm talking about life with God. That's a quality of life, not just a quantity. Right? So I'm saying this. Knowing him is where life is found. Knowing him and only him is where life is found. Knowing him. Grace and peace is multiplied to you through knowing him. John 6 says this. Jesus doing all this stuff, and these people are marveled, you know, and they said this. Hey, tell us what the works of God are, because we want to work the works of God, right? Remember that? Tell us. Tell us what to do, right? Tell us what the works of God are. We want to work the works of God, right? Jesus said this. Do you want to work the works of God? Believe on him who was sent. Surely it's got to be more than that, don't it? Believe on him who was sent. You're going to say, the light of men, what you know, is where life is found. Life is found in him. And so what we believe in him, our light, what we know, has got to be him. See, I see this all the time. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. Religion has taught us so much lies. It's really brainwashed us to believe lies and accept them as truth. That's what religion's done. Brainwash us into hearing lies and believe them and take them in as truth. I'm saying we've got to base our truth in what we believe on the light of the world, Jesus himself. The life of Jesus, the light of Jesus, that's where we get our knowledge, that's what we know, and that's where life is found. I'm trying to say this. I know that's all over the place, and life is found in basing what we believe on him and who he is. Look, religion's taught us we've got more doctrines and belief systems and all this mess that's robbed from us. We've got more. We believe more in the book of Job than we do in the life of Jesus. I hear it all the time. You guys hear me? You guys know what we believe? Talking about victory, healing, deliverance, all this stuff, the good things of God. That God, do you know this? God really is good. Religion would like us to think that he's a grouchy old grandpa that just... He really is good. He really is good. And religion just growls about that and just rebels against that. And they'll say, they always want to argue about it. They'll bring up Job. They'll bring up this. They'll bring up that. Hey, fool with all that. First of all, I got a better deal than what Job's got. Hey, I've been born again.
Right.
Here's what I'm saying. Let's believe on him who was sent. To the point of what we believe in, the light that we know is based on the life that Jesus lived and nothing else. Our truth is based on him and his life and what he did and who he was and his will. Saying, we've believed all this mess. we've thought like the world. We've been trained up in the world, and we think like the world. And we got born again and just kept on thinking the same way. If it ain't, here's what I'm saying, if it ain't in the life of Jesus, we need to throw it out.
Yes, sir.
If it ain't in the life of Jesus, it ain't the will of God. If it ain't found in the life of Jesus, we need to throw it out. We believed a lot of stuff that's contrary to the life of Jesus. If you can't find it in the life of Jesus, it needs to be thrown out. What about you? I want to know Him. I want to know the real Him, what He's really like, who He really is, because that's the light of men. That's where life is found. When our belief system lines up with who He is, that's where the works of God. Anybody here? Let's just think about all this stuff that we believe, and let's go to the life of Jesus and say, well, now, not everybody gets healed. You know, it's not God's will everybody be healed. Some, you know, I mean, God uses sickness for His glory, and you know, is that in the life of Jesus? Did anybody that ever approached Jesus that wanted to be healed, did He ever give that speech? Did He ever say, well, okay, I've got a plan and a purpose for this. If you'll come back in about 3 weeks, I've got some people that this is going. Wasn't in the life of Jesus, was it? What do we got to do with that then? Throw it out. Jesus is the exact representation of the Father. He's the visible of the invisible. Jesus Himself said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Why don't we start getting our opinion of God by looking at Jesus? Say, Jesus was, you know what, the only people that got Jesus aggravated was religious folks. The ones that were trying to put stipulations and standards to keep people from getting to the Father. That's the only thing that aggravated Him. Bring the lepers, bring the adulteresses, bring all these broken, hurt, sick, diseased, messed up, broken people, and all He had was compassion. Healing folks, delivering folks, blessing folks, teaching folks. Hey, teaching us about faith and all this stuff. Hey, I think about, I never get over this, but you remember our old friend Tony Mack. He always told that story. Anybody ever heard Tony Mack's testimony? Yeah, look it up on YouTube. It's awesome. But I remember him being in that cell and that dream and all that, and Satan trying to get him. And it said a big light comes on, and he looks up, or first he says the light comes on, and he sees this big bad Satan, and Satan sees the light, and Satan's scared. And he said, "Oh my, if it's scaring him, I sure ain't looking." Right? But he looks, and there's Jesus. And he talked about the compassion in his eyes as he looked down on him. I think that affected me. I've never forgot that. Tony Mack talking about the compassion in Jesus' eyes. Man, thinking about that woman that religious folks brought up there and threw her in the floor and said she ought to be stoned. He says, where are those that were condemned you? He said, neither do I condemn you. Fact is, not only was he not condemning her, but just his very presence and the truth that he has ran off everybody else that was trying to condemn her. I'm telling you, he's not in the condemnation business. He's in the setting people free business. He said, neither do I condemn you. Now go sin no more. Like religion says we'll go and sin no more, then we won't condemn you. Backwards. Jesus knew this. Only when you realize that God's not condemning you is where the power is found to go and sin no more. No, we've got it backwards. I'm just telling you, let's believe on Him who was sent. Let's get all of our believing and all of our belief system and all of our ideas and all of our doctrines based on the life of Jesus, the true will of God. And He's about blessing folks and healing folks and loving folks. And He's good. And He's happy about it. Because if you see God in the way religious taught us, you'll say, well, I need Him and I'm glad you're in my life, but you stay over there, I'll stay over here. Right? I lived there. Well, I needed Him. I sang songs about loving Him, but I needed Him because I didn't want to go to hell. I wanted to get in heaven, but now I know me, and I don't want you to get too close. Anybody here? I'm telling you, you find out who He really is and what He's really like. You snuggle right up there close, and you'll get in the light. Well, let me read one more. Let me read another one. You guys go sing. Listen to this. This is John 12:35. I'm just saying, the only thing worth knowing is Him. Everything else is a lie. The only thing worth knowing is Him. We base our truth on Him. See, we've based our truth on circumstances, on history, on what's normal, or what everybody else has had, or this has been this. That's what we've based our truth on. What about basing our truth on Him and who He is and the life that He lived and the examples that He taught? For a little while longer, the light is among you. Walk while you have the light, so that darkness will not overtake you. He who walks in the darkness does not know where he goes. While you have the light, believe in the light, so that you may become sons of the light. I like that. I like that. I'm just saying that if we're going to get to total victory, we're going to have to base our truth on who He is. Not on what circumstances or statistics have said. Is that too tough? Is that too tough? Is it the will of God to heal? Is it God's will for everybody to be healed? Yes. Now wait a minute. Everybody's not been healed. So now here's the dilemma. Are we going to base our truth on the Word? Or are we going to base on truth that statistics and circumstances have shown us? That's just one example. When we quit gathering our truth from circumstances and start gathering our truth from the will and the Word of God, then because of our belief system and knowing Him and walking in the light, now circumstances start to change. Is that simple enough? We want to see circumstances change, don't we? Then we need to start accepting truth as truth. Circumstances be a lie. Is that simple enough? Is it the will of God for everybody to be healed? Yes. Is it the will of God for everybody to be blessed? Yes. Is it the will of God for everybody to be prosperous? Yes. Well now, everybody ain't had that. I know good Bible-believing Christians. Been in church 94 years. Never missed a day. Taught Sunday school for 57 years. And they died of whatever else. So now if they didn't get healed, then what? Now wait a minute, right? I'm not looking at that. I don't have all the answers for that. But I'm saying, when we start changing our belief system, renewing our mind to gather our truth from who He is and the life that He lived, them circumstances start to change. Huh? You want to work the works of God? Believe on Him who was sent. He said, I am the truth, the way, and the life. Yeah, quality of life. Here, I'll say this and I'm quitting, because you guys have heard this all along. I'm just going. John 3:16, everybody knows it, right? The most famous one there is. God so loved, He gave His Son. Whoever would believe in Him would not perish but have everlasting life. Right? Life. Now, I always thought religion taught me that means I'll go to heaven and live forever. Right? Believe in Jesus, you're going to live forever, right? Well, what happens if you don't believe in Jesus? So it can't be talking about quantity. It can't be talking about time frame. It has to be talking about more than quantity of life, because you get quantity either way. It's not saying those who believe in Jesus get more time than somebody doesn't, because you're getting eternity either way, right? It has to mean a quality of life. Those that believe on Him who was sent have a quality of life and will watch the works of God. If I want the works of God, it's going to come by believing on Him who was sent and getting rid of all this junk. I'm telling you, just keep on hearing. I'm going to keep on telling you. It might make you squirm. We're getting rid of this religious mindset and all this stuff that religion's taught us, and you just keep on plucking that stuff out week after week. Keep on hearing, keep on hearing. It's working. It's working. Everybody good? Say it's working.
It's working.
All right. All this junk, I'm telling you, just keep on hearing. I'm going to keep on telling you. It might make you squirm. We're getting rid of this religious mindset and all this stuff that religion's taught us, and you just keep on plucking that stuff out week after week. Keep on hearing, keep on hearing. It's working. It's working. Everybody good? Say it's working.
It's working.
All right.